this week, we're doing something a little different. We've been playing a lot of Satisfactory here as we've been starting off this new streaming series, but I really thought for Halloween, now that we are into the month of October, we'd go back and play some more spookier, scarier games. Things that have sort of a more darker vibe to it, and not just stick to the building games this month. So I really wanted to start with one of my all-time favorite games, Hexen. Now, Hexen's one of these old, we'll call them first-person shooters, although this one doesn't have as much shooting as close-up melee combat, but everybody here is familiar with Doom and Doom 2. Hexen is built on the same engine as those games. It was put out by Raven Software, but rather than being a game where you're a monster fighting hero with guns blazing through bunkers, you're instead a swords and sorcery monster fighter set in more of a Dungeons and Dragons sort of environment. So it has light RPG elements. It generally plays like the Doom games, but it's got this dark gothic vibe that I absolutely love. And there's so many great locations that are just super evocative, where they used all of the tricks of the engine to really make it feel nice and spooky here. It's such a great vibe. I really, really, really love this game. So without any further ado, let's dive in and start playing. So we're going to start a new game. And now we have our choice of characters. Again, the class system here is a little different from Doom, which is nice. It gives us different options depending on the type of character we choose. Now, the fighter is great because you get that strong melee. You're seeing in the background here the fighter actually playing. I personally find the cleric to be my favorite. He's a good all-around character. And the big ability here is that their magic potions turn into a cloud, which constantly damages the enemy. And I think that's really great. You can clear out large groups of enemies with that in one small contained area. So we're going to go with Cleric. Now, also, as you all might have picked up from my Satisfactory Let's Play, I generally play games for fun. I don't play games just because I want to be challenged to the point of punishment. I don't enjoy that. I like a little hard, not too hard. So for this, we're just gonna take it down a notch. I want to play through this as much as we can and just kind of enjoy the experience. So we're going at the lowest, easiest setting here. We're going straight up for Altar Boy, as they call it. Now, I just want you to get a feel for this area we're starting in here. It's just really, really nice to have this sort of very moody space. It's really kind of impressive how much they do with this gloom they kind of bring in here. And now we can see our first few enemies coming at us. Now, even on easy, again, it takes the cleric here a decent number of hits to take out one of the enemies. Oh yeah, it's been a while since I played this. The controls feel a little awkwardly slippery. Now look, all these little stained windows they've got and everything. It's just such a nice little bits of detail. I also want to show you this really great door opening animation. I remember this from the first time I played it. Isn't that so nice? Just that neat little extra door animation and that little creaking noise. Again, they don't need to add it, but it just adds so much. Now, let's see if I can remember where all the things are here. Ah, yes. Drop a couple of enemies on you in this little room. Not a lot of jump scares, but a little bit. Oh, looks like he got smooshed. And you're always seeing those things happen here in this game. These little spooky doors with spooky characters drawn on them, and then monsters will pop out from behind them. Thankfully, they don't respawn. Rather than respond. They definitely respond to you. Ah, like that. Where all of a sudden you think it's a secret door, but actually it's just a whole bunch of fireballs being thrown at you. So, let's see here. You'll see I picked up some of these green flechettes, as they call them. That's the magic in the game. And now we've got these lovely stained glass windows. And this game, what do you do with stained glass windows when you find them? Yes, the first thing you want to do is smash them. Sometimes there's items behind them. But there's also, if I remember correctly, one of these has a secret passage, which takes us down to the next level down. I think it's this one. Pick up the quartz flask, which we can use to refill our life. Now, I guess it's been longer since I remembered since I played this game. All the way to the left? Ah, there it is. Knew it was around here somewhere. So we just clear our path through some of these monsters here. And now we have one of these nice switches. Again, nice little animations they add here. Big crushing doors. And all the sound effects make everything sound nice and weighty as well. And you'll note I'm taking some hits here as I try and relearn which keys do what. It's been a long while, y'all. Strafing, for instance, it's a little hard to remember how all these work. Now, let's see here. I think if we grab this key, yeah, the crushers start up in here again. Just grab our extra quartz flask. Make sure we didn't leave any behind, because we're not going to come back here. Okay. Now again, as with all of these crushing door problems, there's always the question of timing. And you have to run here, which means I have to remember which one is the run button. I think it's Alt. There we go. Now we made it through. Now, whenever you hear that whooshing noise, that means they've spawned in an enemy. And they do randomly spawn in enemies as you play. Usually just these ankle biter, two-headed monsters. You'll find those keep respawning as you go through the game. But otherwise, the enemies are mostly dead once you take care of them. So there's the one that just randomly spawned in. Let's see if we can get past him here. Now I picked up that key in there, and we'll be using that key to then go open a door. Now I'll have to remember, there's two sides to this section. Yeah, so this is the back end. Now, generally speaking, you can hit enemies through barriers, and that makes it nice because often they can't hit you through barriers. Again, it's melee-based attacks, so usually you're relatively safe on the other side if you give it a little distance. And again, it's a little cheaty, but again, conflict avoidant here. Now, I can't get through on this side to get that stone key there that I want, right? So I believe we now have to go around the other side. Some of these trees, there we go. The gray trees you can knock down, if I remember correctly. Okay, and here's where we use the green key that we just picked up. And now we're going to be going up into this spooky fortress here. You can kind of see there's some torches there, nice animated GIFs of torches. Oh, yeah, I don't want to stand too close to the door. Okay, I think that's both of those. Now we need to get this door open, but I remember this doesn't open. The moon switch isn't going to actually open that door. Instead, it opens the side door. Trying not to take too many hits. Pick that up. Oh, and then there's another moon button that pops up when you walk up here. And if I was playing in a harder mode, I think there would be some of the flame bats in there. But thankfully we're playing on easy, and we can avoid most of the flame bats. I really don't love the flame bats, even to this day, because they have a nasty ranged fireball attack. But right now I'm just getting myself cornered over and over again. And as you all can tell, I don't play many first-person shooters these days, so I'm very rusty. Don't want to pick up those flasks, only missing 2 health. And then we've got this lovely little tower here. Again, just so nicely designed. You know, and you can see that brown spot in the middle there is actually the bell that we're going to go up and ring. And we can go through this tiny little cave behind it. And again, that's the area we had cleared out previously. Now, one thing they do in this game a lot that's very frustrating is anytime you see a shape like this, it often means that you're going to get stomped. Then the ceiling is going to come down. So we always try and run across those every chance we get. Now that one didn't come down, but this wall is coming down. And again, we're going to have to run through here. So hold forward, hope for the best. There we go. Now, the other thing about this game is, if you get hit by one of those crushers, you do die immediately. They don't give you any second chances. So, in this game, we are going to want to save often as well. Okay, so we climb up here, and there's the bell. So we just whack that. See, such a nice little extra animation. They didn't have to do that, but, you know, it makes it feel a little bit more realistic for the time period. Not that this is especially realistic, but it just gives it that little extra hint. Again, for games at the time, you didn't see a lot of those sorts of animations back then. Okay, there are the flame bats I was talking about. Not a fan. Gargoyles, maybe? I don't know. Whatever they are, they shoot at me a lot. I don't like it. Okay. Alright, so we've got the stone key here. We've used that. We've opened things up. And if I remember correctly, I think that ringing the bell, yes. So ringing the bell raises that grate that was around this teleporter here. And again, instead of having those sci-fi looking teleporters, look at the sparkling red magical cloud. So we'll hop in here, and this is going to complete the entry level of this level. And it'll take us right in to the next level. Okay, so we hop through the portal, or, this actually just opens the door back out to the entrance, in case you don't actually want to leave the level yet, so you can go out that way. But this portal will take us on through into what I believe is the 7 portals level.
Greetings, mortal. Are you ready to die?
Well, I don't think we're ready to die just about yet, but let's dive on in here to 7 portals. Now, the way that 7 portals is laid out here, as with a lot of the levels of Hexen model, so as we start entering this area, we're going to see that there's the literal 7 portals here, which are a series of 7 doors that then each lead to a portal. And of course, as we start the level, the first one is already open here on the left side. We are just going to clear out the handful of enemies that are already out here in this area before we dive in. We don't want anybody, doing exactly that, sneaking up behind us. I think there's only a handful of them over here, but it is enough that it gets obnoxious to be surprised. Okay, let's just dive through here. There's a couple of flame bats over at the north side here that we're not really going to worry about because they can't really get us. We just want to go all the way around, yes, and grab anybody that might surprise us later. We'll also pick up some of these blue floating mana. Now those power our weapons after the first tier. And this is blue mana, of course. There's also green mana. The first weapon you get, besides your default weapon, the mace, is going to be the Serpent Staff, and that uses the blue mana. And so we're going to pick that up. Actually, the Serpent Staff is actually right beneath this big gray pillar. You can see the textures are a little different on that pillar, and that usually is indicative of things that are going to be moving around. So as we slowly work our way through 7 portals, that's going to open up, and we'll be able to grab the Serpent Staff. I really like the Serpent Staff. I think it's a really cool weapon. It's probably my favorite weapon in the game, mainly because it can both spit poison darts, but it also can drain the life of your opponents if you get up close and use it in melee range. Now, I was wrong, actually. All of the doors are closed to start. This switch is going to open the first one, which is right here. You can see the little animation is happening again on that one. And now we have our first Serpents. As some of you know, the main baddies in the Heretic and Hexen series are called the Serpent Riders, and these are, of course, the Serpents in question. The boss of the Heretic game is actually riding one of these. They do a lot of damage. You generally don't want to deal with them at such close range if you can avoid it, but unfortunately I have 0 options at this point because I don't have a ranged weapon yet. Okay, we're just going to pick up the flechettes here that are laying around. And as soon as we grab this, again, there's a lot of scripting in this game, so you notice that it got real dark real fast. And again, they play with lighting effects here a lot to build ambiance and make you feel like it's spooky. In addition to the skulls and the textures and all that sort of stuff. Now, I'm just looking around here. Some of the ice level areas here have pillars that will rise up from the floor, and they will squish you against the ceiling. Other times, they drop down pieces of the floor and create pits, so all of a sudden you're having to deal with platforming puzzles, but we don't have to deal with that quite yet. So, we're going to jump through this portal, and that's going to take us straight to the Guardian of Ice, the first of the 3 subsections of the game. So one thing to note here that they do in the level design that's really interesting is, much like in Doom 2, where you turn around and you find the chainsaw straight out the gate, they often play with levels where they drop you kind of in the middle of things, and they give you hints that there's something else going on. They give you these little windows, and they put you in dark rooms. And also note that in the dark rooms, there's always little hidden things typically. So I just picked up a crystal vial off the side of here. The other thing they tend to do is drop you in an alcove like this, where things are slowly opening, and they want to lure you out. And usually there's going to be an enemy like right behind you. Like that. They really like that trick. They use it a lot. So just whenever you're going through a doorway or anything like that, keep an eye out. Also, you'll see that they've got different textures on the walls in some cases, like this one here and the one over here. Those are usually indicative of openings to other rooms or even other levels. So also, they're going with the thematics here. We're in the Guardian of Ice. The Guardian of Steel typically uses these rusted metal textures, and you're going to see those a lot. And then the Guardian of Fire, I think it's Fire, maybe Flame, has these textures, and they use those to kind of set the theme for those 3 parts of the area. Now, here's another room that looks way too simple. So the second we start walking down, they pull this trick, where the room starts to sink and leaves these little platforms here. And then, of course, enemies spawn in. So we have the high ground, so that makes it a little easier to deal with them. They tend to not be able to hit us here at a different Z index from them, but we can typically still hit them. Occasionally they can climb stairs, though, because they can pathfind their way to us. But generally, we should be able to kind of hang out up here. I know it's a little cheaty, but, you know, I am, again, conflict avoidant. So this is the easiest way, I feel like, to deal with these enemies. Again, especially when you're dealing with a large number of them all at once, that does make it a little harder. Now, I also have the magic flechettes, the green potion you see at the bottom there. typically, again, I like to use this for crowd control and paralyzing enemies, but they don't work especially well on anything except for the centaurs, which we'll see coming up here in a minute. All right, so we're going to grab the amulet and open that spooky looking switch. And notice that those squishing pillars are dropping down. Again, that's indicative of what we generally see in this game a lot. Whenever you see these raised platforms like this, typically you got to watch out for being squished. And as I remember, these will definitely squish you. Now, they do give you a lot of hints in the game, though. So if you note here, there's an arrow kind of pointing very obviously at this pillar, which generally means that's the one you want to go on. And there we have it. We have teleported back to 7 portals. Here we are again. And you can see we just cleared out that first portal area. Now, we're going to be revisiting these 3 areas a lot. Of the 7 portals, there's 2 portals to each of the 3 Guardian sub-levels. And they kind of interconnect a little bit between themselves as well. So we'll take out these few extra enemies that have appeared since we last were here. And again, distinctive, separate textures lets you know that that is probably a wall that's going to drop open here. Now, as I mentioned just a few moments ago, I will note that the Serpent Staff has finally opened up. So we can actually grab that right now. There we go. Again, my favorite game weapon here that we have for the Cleric. Occasionally, it also blinks. Let's just try it out on this dude. I should say these dudes. There's 2-headed, so. And again, it gives us our first ranged weaponry. Okay, so we've gone through the first portal. We've cleared out the first half of the Guardian of Ice. And I think that's a good place to stop this game session. Next area, a lot easier. Whoa, well, I thought we were going to stop, but first we got to take out a baddie. And that's going to make it a lot easier here moving ahead. So thanks again for joining us here on Enterprise Architecture, and we'll see you next time.
Bat!